What's going on, y'all? It's KeemAyeYee, and I just wanted to make a quick video about my problem with call centers, an environment that I've been used to for a good number of years, and a place I still find myself in to this day. Now, don't get me wrong, it's one of the easiest places you can land a job at for, most of your average entry-level positions, but definitely one of the toughest jobs to maintain. It's a thankless job that many people do 24/7 across the globe to support a variety of industries. Now, however, there are downsides to this type of environment, and I just wanted to take a moment to just voice my thoughts on the matter and kind of just air out some issues I've had with them over the years, and maybe this might be of some assistance for someone that's probably looking to get into a type of call center job, or someone out there that may experience or feel similar, to how I feel, because they've been, down that road before, just as I've been. First thing I wanted to talk about real quick was dress codes, which I find kind of interesting depending on the environment and whatnot. Like, I get it. The dress code is supposed to kind of give a sort of business professional atmosphere in the workplace, so that way, people understand what they're coming into, what's expected of them, etc., etc. However, I mean, you're spending 8 hours a day talking to people, someone somewhere in the world that doesn't give a damn how you look like, doesn't know how you look like, it only can hear your voice, and you're supporting them with the best customer service experience. Me personally, I honestly think that should be more than enough, because I mean, like, it's not like we're looking good for anybody. It's kind of just like look good for the business, if anything. Like, no one really hovers over, in my experience, no one really like hovered over different employees to kind of like really see anally, like really see what exactly that they're wearing. They may be off. Like, if you come into work, for example, like in some like super loud outfit that's like, you look like basically like a highlighter or something. I've seen this before, and your outfit just looks ridiculous from a point. I mean, you're drawing attention to yourself, obviously, especially if it's not work appropriate. I mean, then more than likely you're going to be asked to leave. But I'm talking about something very subtle, like, wearing sneakers, for example, something comfortable that I like to wear. I like Pumas, for example. Pumas are my shit. So, I got some slick Pumas that's like black, all black, some that's like red and black mixture. It looks very subtle. It's nothing that's like crazy that draws attention to itself and seems kind of like, out of whack, and it shouldn't belong. It's just comfortable. They got the smart cushion in the soles of the feet for the shoes. That's just me personally. But we can't wear that in the experience that I've had before, because most call center positions that I've known and been in, it's either business professional or business casual. Now, one job was really like hilarious to me, because it was a sales job, and we had to be business professional. So that was dress appropriate shirts, slacks, khakis, or whatever, and of course some form of formal shoes and whatnot as well. I always felt like a stick in the mud, walking around that place, and the job itself was anything but professional. Like, it was like super shady as hell, very shady. I'll probably go into that type of stuff, like the different tactics and whatnot some companies want you to do that kind of undermines your own morality. But just suffice to say, the dress code that was asked of me for the company and whatnot just didn't seem appropriate based on the position itself and how everyone else held themselves and whatnot. So, not too much of a big complaint there. I mean, company's gonna have their dress code. It's just something we just got to deal with. I'm cool with it. I'm not really bitching about it, but I'm just saying, it's a call center job. You're talking to people virtually, 8 hours a day. I don't think it really should matter, or really determine your place of employment, as long as you're not wearing nothing really outlandish and just crazy and stuff. You know what I mean? I remember actually last year, during the first outbreak of the whole COVID thing, when most people were working from home, this one particular call center job actually allowed employees to just basically come as casual. Like, we had people coming in in their fucking pajamas, like legit. It was cool. And guess what? Productivity did not go down at all. Like, it was all professional. Like, people wasn't coming in with booty shorts and stuff like that, but like, it was professional. Just people was just, comfortable and whatnot. And that's how it is when you work from home anyway. You're gonna be wearing whatever the hell you want, right? So anyways, that's one topic down. I just wanted to get off my chest really quick. That's the easiest one, dress code. Now, the next topic I want to discuss was, of course, strict metrics. Okay, and this goes for, multiple varieties of call center jobs, albeit customer service, tech support, sales, whatever the case may be. I've had my fair share of different strict metrics that were just piled onto me, pretty hard and in a harsh manner that, made me kind of second guess myself and really think if I'm really, good for this job or not. I'll give you an example. Probably the most common and shared stat amongst all, if not most, call center jobs, usually that ties into like customer service or technical support roles, is surveys, right? These things, I'm sure you've heard these surveys before when you called into like a bank company or whatever customer service type of company that you needed assistance with. They probably say at the beginning of the call or towards the end or after the call's done, or you maybe even heard an agent tell you when they done servicing you, saying, hey, I appreciate if you leave your a few words for me about my service that I gave you, if everything's okay or whatnot. Your opinion matters. We look forward from hearing from you, stuff like that. So surveys, looking from the outside in, doesn't seem that big of a deal. You're giving your honest opinion. However, most customers don't understand that these surveys really are the lifeblood for a lot of these agents that are working for these jobs and whatnot. Your opinion actually matters. When they say that shit, they mean that dead ass. Your opinion really matters. Like, that shit can really be the difference between someone keeping the job or not. Especially if they're like trending towards keeping like a very bad low score for surveys and whatnot. I'll give you an example. I work for this banking company, call center, customer service, right? And over a period of a month or so, I started averaging kind of like a lowish percentile for surveys, around 70ish percent, right? The goal is obviously 100%, but they're okay if you're around 90ish percent. That's excusable. 70ish percent or even lower, yeah, something's going on there, buddy. So come to find out, we listened to these calls and reviewed them, and come to find out that the calls that gave me the low scores were basically because of bank policy outside of my control that I have no power over. For example, one customer had called in, was bitching and moaning and complaining about not being able to basically dispute a transaction that was pending, right? I'm sure you guys seen that before, when you had an issue with like a charge or whatnot that's unauthorized and you're trying to dispute it, but it's pending. So if you haven't ever seen that before, it's because that's what it is. A payment was made and it's pending right now. It hasn't been submitted fully yet. So the banks, basically any bank in the world, cannot dispute that transaction until it's posted. So you could be mad all you want that, wait, hold on, this $100 just came out of my account. I know it's processing pending, but I didn't make this. You got to stop this now.
There's nothing I can do.
Like, it's kind of too late. The money's already been taken, and now we have to wait for it to post. So what banks do usually is that they can either do a stop payment for that merchant if they did, if the merchant had did something foul, which may not be that much helpful, because the most common thing that happens would be they close the card. So if it was a debit card transaction without your authority, then yes, they will close out the card so no further transactions can be made. That's the best we can do, and of course expedite you a brand new card, right? So this one customer, I think it was an older guy, like really elderly. He didn't know anything, right? Real old school dude, probably still using Windows 98, right? And pissed off as hell, man. I tried to calm him down, try to de-escalate the situation, let him know, hey, I'm sorry. I know XYZ, this shit happens. It sucks, I understand, but guess what? We close the card out. That means, there's not gonna be any future unauthorized transactions because this card no longer exists, right? So if someone has your card number, you're good. They're not gonna, no more unauthorized transactions. However, we won't be able to dispute this and, try to reverse this transaction, not until it posts. He didn't understand that. He didn't like that. So after more careful explanations and, escalating to even to a higher position, I think it's we had a lead.
I want your boss.
We had leads we can like transfer calls to in case a customer wanted to like really escalate highly and they didn't want to talk to you no more. We had that option. So at the end of that, he didn't want to do that. He just, was just moaning, complaining, and hung up and gave me a low score. But what he really was doing was giving the company a low score. However, the company I was working with don't differentiate between the two. If they, rate the company very low or giving it a bad score because of the policies, for example, or just how the business works or how banking works in a nutshell, that's your ass. And if you get enough of those low scores, that's when they start talking about, maybe this job isn't for you.
Man.
And that's what really pissed me off, and that's why I'm not working there right now. I just feel like, if a customer is bitching and moaning and complaining about a company's policies or business rules, that's something that they should be grading and rating on that perspective. That not based on me and my service. I did everything I could. I did my job. It's nothing I could have done to save, that customer and keep him happy at the end of that call, because he just wouldn't understand or care to listen. So that's outside of my control. Most companies and call centers, they don't care about that. It's all about the numbers, right? If you're not meeting a certain percentage, it's a problem. And, to them, it's kind of a waste of time to really go dig really deep and look at each and every call that was graded low, because it's just, according to them, hey, you didn't meet the numbers. That's pretty much it. We're not going to waste time listening to these calls to see if, well, maybe there's a couple of nuances here that, this can slide. Maybe this can slide too, because that makes sense. They wasn't mad at you. They wasn't mad at the company's policy. So got pissed off with that company, moved on to the next as it goes, because call center jobs really are kind of fast paced. And most times in my experience, what I've seen is that people don't really stay at these particular jobs that long, unless, like on the off chance they're just used to the system. They've mastered everything about it, and they're just used to the policies and whatnot, and they've just mastered the way to manipulate things to their advantage and whatnot. Because that company I was with, that I just talked about, I couldn't understand anybody being there more than like 2 or 3 years. Most people there before I left was like there at the most, like maybe like 3 years. 3 years at the most. Nothing higher than that. So, I guess that tells you a lot about certain jobs and whatnot, depending on, the age of the veterans, how long they've been there. If they haven't been there that long, then that tells you a lot about that company. Another metric I'm sure some people might be more familiar with, especially if they're doing sales, outbound sales definitely, is calls, dials, talk time, things like that. This one sales job I had, cold call, outbound center. Oh man, it was rough. You had to have a minimum. They kept raising the stats on us like out of nowhere, just because as a team, well, as a call center, we wasn't really hitting the right goals that they wanted us to. But man, we was so handicapped in so many ways, it's not even funny. Like, we just kept getting our hands tied everywhere, every chance we got. Every time we found a way to probably like, switch the game up and take it to our advantage, they just came out of nowhere and just tied our hands up even more. You know what I mean? Like, at one point, I think the dials goal in the day was like maybe, I think like 60 or 80 or something like that, 60 to 80 or whatnot. And at that point, really at the end of the day, we didn't want to consider ourselves this, but it is what it is. We was telemarketers. We was trying to sell, financing to businesses, basically local mom and pop shops, that couldn't afford this as an option to begin with. We were trying to sell them the idea of having a financing plan to offer to their customers. And boy, what I tell you, it was rough. Like, they gave us a lot of campaign members to call, like a lot of businesses to call. I'll give them the benefit for that. However, these leads just were trash, and if your dials wasn't really high, then your sales needed to be high. But at the end of the day, if you're calling nothing but straight trash, I mean, it's going to be kind of tough to hit your goals. So That being said, I guess the dials are kind of easy to hit. It was just kind of a bit extreme that we had to like call that many people, because I feel like if you call that many people, you're not really having that much meaningful conversations. Because we had like one heavy hitter that got sales like crazy, and his dials was always trash, but his talk time was like the shit, meaning that he was, you know, having meaningful conversations and, you know, getting to that right person in time to finalize the sale and get that shmoney. You feel me? But you know, that type of shit ain't for everybody. It's not comfortable for everybody. You know, not a lot of people are comfortable with making that many calls, talking to that many people in any given day. Cause that was some shit you had to be consistent with, cause it all added up. The daily dials for the metrics that you had added up to the weekly metrics that you had, added up to the monthly dials that you had to hit goal. And it was high. It was crazy high. And on top of that, you had to also get your sales numbers, because I mean, you know, you want to make your bonus, but at the end of the day, you want to keep your job too. So you gotta, you know, make sure you hit all these stats that kind of line up together, that go, you know, hand in hand with one another. I'm pretty much done with this topic for the metrics, but I just wanted to mention one little special guest metric that's kind of related to me, because of my position where I'm in right now. I work for an internet company, tech support, so some people might be able to relate to this to some degree, but it's basically a stat. It's a specific stat that's usually, you know, it's tailored to like a, you know, a small, I guess, industry in the call centers. It's called truck roll prevention. This is basically about preventing a technician, right? So a customer calls in having internet issues, and it gets to a point where, you know, you're not able to solve it over the phone. You know, you're confused, you don't know what the fuck to do, you don't know what the problem is still there, even after all your careful troubleshooting and whatnot with the customer, still an issue. Well, our last, you know, bet is to send a technician out to get that resolved, which is fine. You know, the company has no problem with that. I don't think any company does, except for AT&T probably. That's no shade, but they charge a lot for the customers for a technician to come out. I've heard that they actually charge like $100 to send someone out, even when the problem's not your fault. So even if your equipment that you got from that company failed, they will still charge you that shit just to send somebody out. And it makes sense, because the company I'm with, I'm not going to say any names, but you know, the company we send, every time the company that I'm with, every time that we send a technician, that's like $300 or $400 that they spend just for that technician visit. That one visit, that's how much money is being spent. So of course, these evil corporations, they're going to do everything they can to minimize costs as much as possible. So that's why they put this as a stat, because we should only be sending out a technician if there's no other options, there's no other way of fixing this customer's issue. No other options, then you send it. Then of course, the issue of incompetence.
But you're the most incompetent person I've ever worked with, and that includes Terry.
With leadership, nobody wants to take responsibility. I know we've all been down that road in some way, shape, or form, even if not in a call center job, just a job in general where no one just wants to take responsibility, take ownership for any type of issues or bullshit and whatnot. And I'll give you a good reason about that as well. You know, I've had customers before that you know, called in escalating a problem right off the bat, super mad because of different misinformation, you know, provided to them by a previous agent that may have, you know, been provided that by their leadership and whatnot. And you know, we never really for that particular job, we never really had like any chain of command or any type of like way to like, you know, kind of like address that, because then you get handed the shit. You know what I mean? The example is that, you know, a customer gets transferred to you with that assumption. I'll give you a better example to be more specific so you're not confused. So I'm still talking about my internet company that I work for, right? Cold transferred to me from the sales team, right? This customer was told that our streaming service that we have was available on this device, right? When it's not, right? I'll be more specific. The device was a LG TV, right? So he was misinformed by the sales team that that streaming service was available on his TV, and he went ahead and got it. He spent extra money for this bundled package to upgrade his services to be able to stream on his LG TV. And this motherfucker cold transferred him to me without giving me any warning, any notes, anything at all to prepare me for this. And I had to be the one to break the news down to this guy, break the bad news to him that, hey, sorry, bro. Unfortunately, no, that's wrong. That last person basically fucking lied to you. That person that works for the same company as I do. Yeah, he lied to you, but I'm telling you the truth. Don't worry. I'm telling you the truth. I promise. That's the fucked up part. And it happens more often than not. And some of that shit comes down from the supervisors or leads in their respective team, because they don't know somehow. I'm like, yo, you work for the company, man. Learn your shit. Like, what the fuck? And then we look stuck looking stupid because now we got to explain the whole shit to the customer, and they're mad as hell. They're not trying to hear that. They just spent extra money for bullshit they can't even use because your ass is too incompetent and don't know your shit, bro. Ridiculous, just ridiculous. And, I talk about incompetent leadership. There was this incident where my homeboy, he had applied for the employee benefits, right? The benefits that comes with free service with this internet company we work for, free cable TV, free phone service, free internet, all that good shit. And he was fucked over for months on end, basically being charged full price for the shit, and with no one knowing why or giving him a detailed explanation to figure this shit out. And nobody knew. He talked to his manager, he talked to his supervisor, he talked to HR. Nobody knew. Come to find out, it was someone that set him up with the benefits package. They fucked up on their side and accidentally put him down as a regular customer instead of an employee account. So all this time he had a regular customer account instead of an employee account to get the actual benefits and the free shit. But nobody knew. Nobody didn't care to look at the notes or try to figure out what the hell was going on. They was just talking about, hey bro, if you don't pay this bill, your shit's shutting down and you ain't getting no employee benefits at all. I'm like, wait, what? Bro, how? And it's who do you talk to? Right? He was asking me who should he go talk to? Because it's you talk to your manager, you talk to the soups, you talk to HR, bro. You talk to everybody you're supposed to talk to. Who's next? The CEO? How? It's crazy. And it's but at the end of the day, they expect you to pay that bill, nigga. You better pay the bill, bro, or you're gonna lose your benefits completely. But it's yo, I don't have benefits to begin with. What the fuck? What is this scam? What is this bullshit? And I couldn't blame him for being mad. It was crazy. It was a crazy event, man. It made no sense at all that nobody had an answer for him for a while, a really long time, and he was stuck with the bill each time. Now the good news is at the end of that took maybe 2.5 months, they finally prorated him the bill so that way he didn't have to pay that, even though I think he paid the first month and they didn't compensate him for it. So that was another big middle finger right there. I don't think they compensated him for it. They just ended up correcting the issue so that way he didn't have to owe any more in the future. That's pretty wild. That's a really specific example though. That's not a generic call center type of shit. But I'm sure something similar like that happens kind of often, in a similar work environment, for other, industries and stuff like that. And of course, that topic kind of coincides with my next topic of discussion, which is mistreatment. You know what I mean? Mistreatment of employees and whatnot, and motherfuckers getting away with it and shit. Now, me, in my experience, this mainly happened in my sales positions, sales jobs. Cause those environments are a little bit more cutthroat. You know what I mean? People, I'm sure folks that's in that similar situation understands that it's a little bit more of a cutthroat environment. Everyone's out for themselves. Everybody's all, looking for number one, looking to make their bank real fat and shit by any means necessary. And I've had experiences before where there's been certain employees that may have been treated like fucking angels, even though they're anything but, and they dog other people, treat them like shit, talk shit to their face, and expect to get away with it and stuff. It's just ridiculous, man. There was this one supervisor. He was brand new, fresh, brand new, right off the train, out of nowhere, and trying to make himself accustomed to everything, how everything worked around here, try to be friendly and all that shit. But he was always a scumbag, with the way he talked and how he said things to certain people. He always had a sarcastic tone every time he talked. You couldn't really know if he was, being serious or legit, or just talking, like a bunch of hot water out of his ass or something. And one day he just went over the edge and just like, said something to me that like really like just took me there. I forgot what he had said, man. It was crazy, but it ended up me basically cussing him out in front of his team right there on the floor. You know what I mean? Like, it got to that point, and he got serious, ironically, and I was like, yo, we can't have that here. What the hell? What do you think this is? And it became a whole big thing when the site manager trying to get me fired or whatnot. And ironically, this guy that I talked shit about, or was talking shit about me, and I retaliated, vouched for me to keep my job. Now, at this particular sales position, I was doing pretty good. I was consistently doing good. Like, I was always hitting my numbers. That was nothing to worry about. I was a veteran at that point. It was just this guy like came, fresh out the boat, like talking shit, and think he was going, nobody's gonna say nothing to that. Like, no, bro, like, you don't know me like that. You don't know anybody here like that. You gotta like earn that type of level of respect and trust to really like be on that type of level. You don't start off, a relationship with somebody being a sarcastic prick and thinking it's not gonna bite you in the ass, bro. It's just not. Now, yes, I was wrong for going off and kind of embarrassing him like that, but I felt embarrassed and disrespected in my way as well. So that's just a lesson learned right there. But at the end of the day, that type of environment, it kind of welcomes it depending on, the position and whatnot. That sales job, cold, like I said, cold-blooded, everyone's out for themselves. So that was expected, but I wasn't expecting that level of disrespect. That was kind of just uncalled for. And I still don't remember what the motherfucker said. It probably wasn't that important, honestly. I probably blew up for no reason, but suffice it to say, I don't really blow up like that for nobody unless like you really push me there. So it had to been something that really took me there for some reason. And last but not least, what I really wanted to talk about mainly in my conclusion for this was just like the COVID response. You know what I mean? Like, it's only been, little over a year now. We're going on close to being 2 years come this December. Well, no, not December. Next January, I think, right? Since we kind of took this whole COVID thing serious and stuff. But I don't think lockdown actually happened until like February or March. I forget which. But every job, every company, has had different responses, different actions taken in response to the COVID thing. As we know, a lot of bars, clubs, a lot of public gatherings, immediately shut down. It left a lot of people without jobs and whatnot, and ended up doing like OnlyFans and shit, for example, to make ends meet, which I completely respect. I respect the hustle and grind. That's what's up. However, in the call center environment, man, I went through, I think I went through 2 jobs last year, 2 different jobs that kind of pissed me off with the whole COVID response. And one was being the sales job that I had. Now, get this. Now, the sales job I had, which was at the beginning of last year, right? They were considered a medical need, the job. We were considered an essential team that had to be there during the COVID crisis. Everybody wanted to work from home. Just bring their computers and hook everything up. It's common. It happens all the time. And a lot of companies did this. For some reason, this company did not want to do that for whatever reason. It made no sense to me whatsoever. Now, I'm going to clue you in on something. The sales item that we were selling here as a company was stair lifts, right? So this is like the shit you see, to get like elderly or like handicapped folks up and down stairs and whatnot. That was the product. Now, we wasn't selling that. Well, our team specifically, we were in charge of selling what's called what do they call it? They called it an annual service agreement, i.e. motherfucking warranty. And you know damn well nobody these days buys warranty, okay? Either it comes with the shit automatically or it doesn't. Nobody goes out of the way to really buy warranty, let alone buy warranty for a fucking stair lift. I don't think anyone in existence has ever heard any shit like that, to actually go out of your way to buy a warranty plan for a stair lift. Not only that, the shit's a ripoff to begin with, because you got to pay for the shit every year, once a year. It's not automatic. It's not something you can pay for X amount of years. It's a 1 year subscription, that it has a lot of stipulations and catches to it. I can go into details about that later, but the point being is that they really considered this position, this job, us selling fucking warranties to a stair lift for people who bought a stair lift from us as essential during the COVID crisis. They need our warranties, guys. And yes, as you already assumed, it was a cold calling job, outbound. So these motherfuckers was not expecting a call from the company that they bought the stair lifts from. So yes, it was just like, just telemarketing shit, honestly. Even though they did business with us, which is the ironic part, they did business with us, they wasn't expecting our call. They wasn't expecting to be charged or asked to spend more money on the shit they already spent a lot of money on. That's ridiculous. A stair lift, my nigga. A stair lift, bro. It's supposed to get you to point A and point B. What's the dilemma? This is not a AC unit. This is not a fucking not even a washer dryer or a heater. Like, this is not that serious of equipment. And we're talking about we gotta spend. And let me also tell you this: the fucking service agreements that we called it was not cheap either. I think on the high end, a full year for the most expensive stair lift we sold, that warranty for just 1 year was $795, and we had to take that as a full one-time payment. They couldn't break it up into months. They couldn't break it up into any type of payment plans. It had to be a one-time, flat out, boom, give me that money. Now, I ain't gonna lie, the bonuses was good, based on that percentage. If you divide up that $795 based on the percentage we was paid, the shit looks good, and especially if you get a lot of sales in a given time. I'm not complaining about that. I'm complaining on the fact that these niggas really had us convinced that this fucking job was considered essential in a time of crisis during that COVID pandemic. Fucking bullshit, fucking outrageous. Yes, the stair lift product is a medical need. It is essential. But selling motherfucking warranty plans for that shit is not a necessity. We should have been able to have that option to fucking go home and work at home in the comfort and safety of our home. And I think about 2 people at that job had got tested positive for COVID. Actually, no, it was like 10 people that got tested positive for COVID. Fucking unbelievable. Now, fast forward to the banking job that I had last year in a call center, of course. Now, I admit, they tied me in pretty good. They got me in the gate really good, with the advertising that they are working from home. Cause this was like around summertime, so this was kind of mid COVID crisis. People still either working from home or without a job, waiting for the government to fund shit and stuff like that, like more stimulus checks, yada yada. So I was in the thick of things, and I was lucky and able to get this job, so I was grateful for that. Shout out. But it took a turn for the worse later on. So initially it was a work from home position. Basically, I had to go to the office to pick up the equipment, get the computer, monitors, all that good stuff, sign this affidavit saying that I'll bring it back unharmed when this whole crisis is over eventually, right? Whatever. So fast forward, the training's like motherfucking 7-8 weeks or whatnot, all working from home, doing good. Now the training is fucking ass. Suffice it to say, okay, it's fucking ass, because when we get to the floor and actually be in production, it's almost unfamiliar to what the training was. Like, there's a lot of things that just wasn't taught to us that should have been taught. We wasted a lot of time doing like dumbass role play that really, in any call center job, if you got to do role playing, bro, like I mean, I get it. It does make sense, especially for people who aren't used to talking to people over the phone. It does make sense to train them in that respect. But like customer service, bro, you either got it or you don't. Like, you can't really train a motherfucker for customer service. I don't think you can. I don't think that's possible. Like, training how to use the tools and how to speak the lingo of the job, things like that, that's one thing. But like teaching actual customer service, I don't think that's possible. That's something you just come to either learn from experience or just something you just got like the gift of gab or something like that. You know what I mean? So training was okay, could have been better, but didn't prepare us for what we was gonna expect when it came time to be taking actual live calls. And so basically my first month straight out of training, my stats wasn't that good. Now, overall, my stats were actually pretty good, except for one thing, and that's something that we had talked about earlier, which was surveys. My surveys wasn't that perfect. So right off the bat, they put me in something called boot camp because of that first month, mind you. That first month that I was working from home, doing it for real, straight out of training. I didn't have any coaching, any meetings or anything like that with my supervisor. There was none of that shit, bro. So like things were changing and happening so fast, but we had to find out some way, and we had to do a lot of digging on our own, and it just took too much time, and it just wasn't productive as it was. So we ended up getting punished for it, because of their lack of legitimate trainings or information that we needed. So my surveys were a little low. After the first month, my punishment, for having low surveys was to come to the office. That's their idea of punishment. So, when you got the job, you work from home. That's cool until your stats get to a certain spot where we don't like it. Then your ass got to come to the office and put you in what's called boot camp, which is nothing but a term, right? It doesn't mean anything at all. All it means is that we have to work in the office and do the exact same shit we was doing when we was at home. We're just now in the office. Now, initially what they told us was that because this is considered boot camp, that we're going to get a lot more hands-on training, a lot more meetings and stuff like that, which was cool, which was great. I'm like, okay, cool. We need some refreshing, training, something to kind of elaborate on to help us out. That makes sense. I appreciate that. Shout out. First week was perfect. I think we had about 3 days in the first week of meetings, and it was about an hour each. An hour and a half or something like that, and it was great. Good to have time off the phones and of course discuss on what we learned, what was considered obstacles and whatnot, all that good stuff. Coming to find out, the following week, the site manager didn't like that. He didn't like that we was taking too much time off the phones or having so much long of meetings and coaching time. So he wanted to slice that shit to 30 minutes, and not for 3 days 30 minutes, but 30 minutes once a week. So once a week we got together to speak for like half an hour to train or whatever the fuck. And outside of that, we was on our own. And I always ask myself, what the fuck is the point of this boot camp, nigga, if you're just gonna have us do the exact same shit we was doing at the safety and comfort of our homes that we're now just doing in the office because you don't like our stats? Like, honestly, I don't get it. I don't get it. Why not just be more hands-on where we were? The job I'm at right now, I love it to death because we have weekly meetings and coachings as well, and we have everyone's open to give you information and help you out. It's so warming, and everyone's so eager to help you out if you have a question to ask. At that job that I was at before last year, man, that shit was horrible. You was on your own. In training for that job, for the bank position, call center. In training, they had told us that if a customer was super belligerent, not being respectable, then we had the right to basically just give them a warning and say, hey, look, we need you to be professional. We're going to be professional as well, and we want to keep this conversation going so we can help you out, but we're not going to take this verbal abuse from you, okay? You give them a warning, right? You don't just immediately hang up. You give them a warning, let them know what's up. And then the rules went to state that, after that warning, if they keep on going and going even worse, calling you whatever name they want, and getting really belligerent, talking shit to you, about you, and all that good stuff, or bad stuff, then you can hang up. You let them know, hey, call us back when you're, able to communicate properly, and we'll be able to discuss this further in a business manner. Have a good day, right? I think that makes sense. I think that's the case for a lot of jobs. In my opinion, I think so. Because I know if I try some shit like that, I'm going to get hung up on. Come to find out, fast forward while we're in this boot camp shit, no, you're not supposed to do that at all. You're supposed to sit there, take that abuse, and try to calm the customer down no matter what. Nobody should be sitting there on the phone, listen to a guy literally just call you out of your name, talk a bunch of shit, and you can't do anything about it but just sit there and take it. That's the stupidest, that's the most dumbest logic possible. That's not productive at all. Nothing happens. Why do I have to stay on this phone and take this abuse? Because this dumbass customer woke up on the wrong side of the pillow. That makes no fucking sense. And you're gonna penalize me for that? Man, they said if you hung up, even if in that circumstance, that's an automatic suspension. You're fired, bro. I was like, man, fuck this job. I'm out this bitch. man, that next bad survey I had got, I cussed the fuck out of my customer because he was coming at me, and I was like, nah, bro, nah, you ain't, nah, you thought I was that that agent, you thought I was that agent, nah, bro, you thought you was Billy Badass till you met Billy Badass, and this Billy Badass don't give a fuck about this job anymore. So that was my last call. After that, I was done, and then I filed for unemployment for a couple of months. You know what I mean? Trying to figure out what I was gonna do next, what my next goal would be, and of course, here I am at this internet tech support position that I'm at. Definitely not AT&T, but I'll let you keep guessing on what that is. But yeah, those just my just blank thoughts, empty thoughts that I had on call centers and whatnot, just out of nowhere, just kind of lingering on my mind for a minute. And I was like, why not just talk about it real quick? You know what I mean? Just maybe this would be a little helpful for someone going through the same shit, or someone that's looking to get into call centers. All in all, I don't have a problem with them overall, but honestly, it really depends on the company itself, right? You know, the term call center itself has kind of a stigma to it, you know what I mean? But really, it depends on the company, the industry, you know, your interests as well. Are you looking for a sales position? Are you looking for like a technical role? Maybe just regular, you know, basic customer service type of thing. Like, it's all up to you. Just make sure you have your expectations in the right order, and that job and training, you know, comes correct and gives you the right information you need to be able to succeed at that you know, at that position. All right, this is KeemAyeYee, man. I talked too much already, man. I'm out this bitch. Peace.